Let's talk about the new moon on April 8th without all the fear mongering. So, of course, the new moon is going to be in Aries. Wherever you have Aries in your chart, you want to check that out. But if you're looking at the impact chart, you're going to see, or your transit chart, you're going to see that the moon is going to be passing over wherever you have Aries in your chart. So, if you have Aries in the first house, that's where it's going to be in your personal chart. But the new moon is going to be in its own chart in the ninth house. So, let's talk about the new moon solar eclipse. So the sun and the moon is the primary luminaries. There's only two luminaries we have in the horoscope, and the sun represents the masculine, the moon represents the feminine. So when the sun and the moon conjoin, it means that we need to balance in our psyche the feminine and the masculine aspects of ourselves. Now, of course, I'm born female. However, I have very masculine traits, which are, since I have the sun in Leo, then I definitely have these traits, which is outgoing, positive, aggressive, self-assertive, and self-expressive. But you want to look at your chart to see, if you have, so it doesn't matter if you're a male or female, right? You want to balance the trait, the masculine and the feminine in your psyche. That's the symbolism of the conjunction of the sun and the moon and the new moon. So if you want to work on yourself and work on your, I don't want to say your spirituality, but really your psyche and becoming a better person, not just in the world but also to yourself, then these are the things that that you could begin to work on, especially that every month the sun and the moon conjoin. So we have, at least one time of the month where you could sit down and consider these things. So the moon is your past, it's in drawn, it's private, it talks about, the moon is about heredity, habits, prejudices, familial and racial limitations. Moon is usually in drawn, private, negative, self-protective, and assimilative. So you want to keep these two things in balance, which is keeping in balance self and your family. And sometimes your family could be your immediate family, it could also be your culture. So to me personally, when the sun and the moon is conjoined, is to try to, so, in your conscious mind, to balance the two aspects of yourself, but also maybe balance it when it comes to the larger society. Sun and moon is in Aries, and I feel like the whole symbolism of the sun and moon, especially in Aries, the moon in Aries is going to be significantly about being independent and assertive and self-assertive. So I think that's the overall theme here that you want to take a look at. But if you want to look at how it affects your chart, then you go on any website. So the concept of balancing your yin and yang, sun and moon, masculine, feminine, is to integrate and become strong in your will, but also in your intuition. Independent of spirit, becoming sensitive, nurturing, balanced, and whole. So it's taking the two aspects and becoming whole. Okay. You don't want to be controlled by your emotions, which is a moon. What you want to do is to use and to enjoy them, which is to utilize your intuition. So, overcoming your moon is to overcome your impulsive nature, which is independence from various conditioning, which is your past, your family, and your culture. So that's, the conditioning of the moon that you want to try to, overcome. And the negative aspect of the sun is, dysfunction, especially when it comes to your identity and your emotions. So you want to draw those two, when it comes to the new moon, you want to draw those two things together and to, strengthen them so that we could use them to your benefit, to enjoy them versus to have them, use you, especially your moon functions, which are subconscious. Sometimes you don't even know that you're acting up on them or they're acting up on you. The new moon is a symbol for the masculine and the feminine. And then I'm going to talk about specifically now the moon in Aries. So, and especially the moon in Aries, it's really all about, gaining independence from your family and being self. So Aries is a very independent sign. So the moon in Aries is not the symbolism is not to be conjoined with your family, not necessarily to be separate from your family, but to be, independent and whole on your own. So I have the new moon chart here. This is just the impact chart. That way we could kind of just go over and see what's going on. So you can see here, the moon is going to be in Aries. So if you're Aries sun, the sun and moon is conjoined. So moon is here, you're in conjunction. So for you, sometimes it's hard to assimilate, the energies of the sun. So the whole point here for you, Aries, is the moon is conjunct. The sun and the moon is conjunct here. And if this is your sun sign, that means you have a lot going on here. And you also have, at this point, Mercury also retrograde in Aries. When the sun and moon is conjunct, so there's a merging, there's a blending. You want to be able to, for the sun and the moon to act together. So which sometimes is hard, because that's the overall theme of a new moon anyways, is to merge the masculine and the feminine. If you're an Aries woman, sometimes you'll suffer from low self-esteem and weak identity, because of course Aries is a masculine sign. So as a woman, sometimes that might be hard to integrate. So in general, I suggest that you look over your chart to see, what is the overall theme going on in your chart. See if you're more masculine or feminine. But I think once you become, aware of, especially Aries woman, because Aries is a very masculine sign. So you want to be able to maybe incorporate more feminine aspects in yourself, which is maybe looking to, where is your moon sign in general, or where is Venus in your chart, or looking at other women deities or goddesses to incorporate some of their symbolism into your psyche or into yourself. As a man, especially if you're, I mean, of course, I'm talking about Aries. So if you're Aries man, usually you are very persistent in culturally defined roles, which defines you really as a man. That means that you identify as a man. You're, a lot of it is about being macho in a way, and so it's hard for you to even look at the feminine aspects of yourself. But we all have masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves. So if there's anything that I think that anyone should take away from, it doesn't have to be, the sun and the moon or a new moon for you to access this information. You can just think about it. If you're a very masculine person, what is it? A lot of it is overcoming what we are culturally inclined to do or culturally disposed to do, which that's the symbol of the moon, where we're raised in a way, especially as an Aries man, we're raised in a way that says you're a man and you should act a certain way, especially as an Aries man, is to act, in a very, how do you say, selfish type of way, like, macho type of way, which not all the time is very beneficial to you as a person. This is a moon impact chart here. The moon is semi-sextile Taurus and Pisces. So in a way, if you could just, of course you can see here, you can visualize it by looking at this. You can see the energy, the rays, the vibrations of the moon and the sun in Aries being spread out. And you can see like these two don't really get so much of those rays. So the sun and the moon in Aries is not going to really affect Pisces and Taurus so much through the semi-sextile aspect. So the only way that the sun and the moon is going to affect these two signs is maybe if, you have another important formation going on in your own personal chart that will impact these two, because you could, you have other things that's impacting these two. But as far as like the impact chart, Pisces and Taurus is not going to be that much impacted. But for Gemini and Aquarius, you are sextile with the new moon. So here you are. That's the impact chart. That's how the moon is going to affect you. So you can see that you get some rays from, some vibrations there going on. A sextile is not necessarily a bad thing.